is up more than 4%, and the most stunning of all, African-American wages, this is my favorite, are up more than 9%. Here now in a truly special debate, I'm so happy about this, Candace Owens, Brexit movement founder and conservative commentator, and Cornel West, professor of philosophy at Harvard University and professor emeritus at Princeton. Dr. West, I also want to tell you, I really appreciate your coming on the show. You're an old-style liberal. I don't mean old and old. I mean, but you like debate and conversation, and I think that's just awesome. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And I want to begin with a simple question, Dr. West. Are the president's policies, let's just focus now on his economic policies, are they helping the African-American community, in your view?
Now, I think that the statistics certainly look good through a narrow lens, so I give him credit in that regard. But we have to keep in mind that on the one hand, you still have grotesque wealth inequality, you have job insecurity, so many people who are working more than one job. We know many people who have withdrawn from the labor force are not counted at all. But I think the problem is, though, my dear sister, is that the president has a language that creates an atmosphere that is so xenophobic against black folk, Mexicans, Muslims. He rarely wants to stay in contact with their humanity. So when you look at the statistics, that's one thing. But when you create an atmosphere and an ambience of xenophobia, it reinforces the polarization, and therefore many black folk wouldn't even be able to connect the statistics that look good with the language, the atmosphere that feels so bad. And that cold-hearted, mean-spiritedness is something that cuts very, very deep in the spirit of people.
Have you met him? Have you met him, Dr. West? Ever met the president?
No, I've never had a conversation with my right-wing brother. I mean, you know, I've called him a gangster and a proto-fascist in terms of separation of power. But he's a human being. He's a human being, and I could, you know.
No, I'm just saying this because, look, you and I don't agree a lot, but I actually really like you. I think I just like the fact that you're out there and you're advocating. I have no problem with it, and I wouldn't call you mean-spirited. We disagree, but I think if you actually were with the president, you might find that you could accomplish a lot together and you could do a lot together. I really believe that. He'll work with pretty much anybody, and that's what I found in my experience. So I'm just throwing that out there, Candace. But there is this tonality issue that people seize on with the president, and they always go back to Charlottesville. They always go back to this S-hole countries. Those are the two things they really seize upon, the travel ban. Those three things probably, for some, just wipe out any other accomplishment. Your reaction?
Well, look, I think the president is doing something different. Definitely his tone is different because he tells the truth and he doesn't pander to black America. He hasn't offered us hot sauce. He's offered us jobs. That makes many people uncomfortable because they're from an era where race hustling is a business. They're used to telling black Americans that they're victims, writing books about victimhood, and that is no longer selling in America. And I just wanted to comment back on saying that xenophobia is something that black Americans are afraid of. Xenophobia means that you have a fear, Mr. West, of foreigners. Black Americans are not foreigners in this country. We are a piece of the American dream. We've earned a piece of this American dream, and we're getting tired of people telling us that we are somehow separate of it. I mean, that's really what I have to say. We're doing tremendous under this presidency. There is no candidate that is offering anything on the left to counter what Trump has offered. They're just offering more rhetoric, more fear-mongering, and unfortunately, time is up on this narrative. We are ready to move on and embrace our futures.
Oh, Dr. West, go ahead.
If I can come straight, I mean, first, xenophobia in the generic sense means the fear of other. And black folk have been othered, enslaved, Jim Crow, and so forth. So if you want the narrow understanding is just foreigner, but it's the other. Those who have been otherized, those who have been marginalized in this sense. But think of when you call my dear sister Maxine Waters low IQ.
She does have a low IQ.
That's vicious.
That's a fact.
You said what?
That is a fact. If she took an IQ exam, you would find out that Maxine Waters had a very low IQ. And I will push that challenge. It may not be nice, but it is truth.
Okay.
When he calls Brother Colin a son of a bitch, you see, this kind of language is ridiculous.
I have never used that language.
Not you.
No, I'm talking about the president. I'm not talking about you, my sister. I'm talking about the president.
West, look,
the president called Brother Colin a son of a bitch.
Okay, but I
think that's a fact.
Yeah, I think the nasty language it's on both sides. I mean, it's on, if they call him a gangster, a traitor. I mean, so we can play that game all night long. But I do want to.
You got language on both sides.
I want to get to this. The prevailing wisdom, I think Dr. West, highlighted this, is that race relations have deteriorated almost under this president. That's the thought. And that Obama was the great racial healer. Yet, in a new study by a pair of sociologists at UPenn, this is not some conservative outlet, they found that, quote, anti-black prejudice declined by a statistically insignificant degree between 2012 and 2016. But then after 2016, it took a sharp dive. There was also a general fall in anti-Hispanic prejudice, too. So, Professor West, to what do you attribute these findings? So prejudice is on the downswing, not on the upswing, at least in these first few years of Trump.
Well, based on this particular study, I'd have to examine how they gather their evidence and so forth. But anti-Jewish attacks, anti-Muslim attacks, anti-Mexican attacks, and not just anti-black attacks, but also the police departments, the militarizing of the police departments, the withdrawal of the investigations when police do, in fact, shoot fellow citizens, whatever color they are, but disproportionately chocolate, disproportionately black and brown.
Right, that was
absolutely.
Under Obama, like
That's true. That's true.
Stuff, right?
That's true.
It's not
I'm just talking about continuities.
That's
I'm talking about continuities.
Right. I do want to share this. This was a moment that